this. Look at the bigger, look at the turn. Oh, that was brilliant, Luke Bruce. Lewis runs into the open goal. Thank you very much. The Hawks are back in town. And he finishes more. He can with his fourth. He's had a day out. Scrimshaw, after seas, went for home and nails it. He'll just set it up, looking for the high flyers. And Sicily soaring through the skies. The Warpino to finish it all off.
Hello and welcome to this very special edition of the Hawk Talk podcast. Hope you're all enjoying a wonderful Easter long weekend as we count down to a massive doubleheader at the MCG. Just your old pal Nick manning the mic for this intro, and it's a pleasure to bring you another interview with one of Hawthorn's most promising young players. Of course, I just mentioned Monday's doubleheader. This guy is set to strut his stuff in the curtain raiser. He's hoping to score a debut soon. It's none other than the rather tall Max Ramsden. He's been with the Hawks less than a year, taken in the 2022 mid-season draft with pick 6, and it's easy to see why. He arrived at the club averaging 19 hitouts and 15 disposals per game. He's had a stellar start to the year, so much so in fact, a new deal has been signed, and he's set to stay with Hawthorn for the long haul. Now, myself and Tiz, we had a blast chatting to Max. I think you'll hear he's as friendly as he is tall, and of course, he towers over most. But anyway, let's get on with it. Here's our chat with Max Ramsden. G'day Max, thank you so much for joining us here on the Hawk Talk podcast. Some brilliant news coming out of the Brown and Gold camp today that delighted all Hawthorn fans, I'm sure. You've signed on with the club through to the end of 2025. What were the main drivers behind putting pen to paper to continue with Hawthorn?
I was stoked to sign it. I think I'm more of a, long-term prospect, as they've said as well. And it's just good to get the extra years locked away so I can just keep working, keep improving, work on my craft, and hopefully soon I'll be out there on the big stage.
I can see Tiz's face. He's wondering just how soon and for what game.
Yeah, well, you can't ask me that. I don't make the call. But
I know, Max. I was putting you in an awkward spot.
I think I just got to string together some, consistent performances in the VFL so that, when I get to that level, they can, trust that I'm going to do my job and get it done.
Well, you had a fantastic outing in the pre-season, kicking four goals, and I particularly remember your performance in the elimination final in the VFL. The first quarter, you kicked a couple of great goals, and we thought, wow, has this bloke come on? Because you would have, about 12 months ago, you were lining up for Sandringham Dragons, and, you're playing with Cam McKenzie, who's at the club now.
Yeah, that was cool for him to get there.
And you got Will Ashcroft with you, and
Sheasel.
Harry Sheasel, and they go on to win the NAB Premiership.
Yeah, I was watching in the stands. I wasn't over here. Yeah, I went and supported them.
And of course, you've played with Ned Long.
Went to school with Wardy and Ned, which is pretty cool. They're my best mates at school, among my best mates at school. So it's just pretty surreal to be able to play at a footy club with my best mates. It's pretty awesome.
Well, I wanted to ask you, Max, about that experience of arriving at the club via the mid-season draft. I mean, it's a little bit different to the normal path taken. Well, historically, the normal path taken. Smack bang in the middle of a home and away campaign. Hawthorn's a hive of activity. There's obviously a lot going on. It's really easy to imagine. It's just go, 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 and you're learning a hell of a lot very quickly. How was that experience?
Yeah, I wouldn't say I was thrown in the deep end, but it was moving pretty quick when I got there. So I just sort of had to adapt, I guess. Everyone was, very accommodating to me. Like, I didn't play the first couple of games, just as I got used to the, the system and everything. But after that, it was just, it was pretty easy, actually. Everyone there's so nice and, welcoming. So it just felt like I slotted in really nicely. A
little bit surreal for a Hawks fan, coming up to Sam Mitchell, who's now your senior coach.
Yeah, that was a bit weird. I actually met him when I was I think 11 or 12 or something, and I've got we bought one of his jerseys for charity. We met him as a family, and then so I've got a photo with him when I was really young, and we still have the jersey as well. So it was pretty funny meeting him in person. But you got to get over that pretty quick because he's your coach, and he's not a player anymore. You've got to treat him like a coach.
So in some ways, it was you had a lot of familiar faces around you. But I remember in the first interview, I think you had. You said something that was curious to me. You said, I'm going to try and not stay in my comfort zone too much.
Yeah, that was, I think early on, Sam especially drove that a bit in a funny way, but also a bit seriously. Like me, would have been easy for me, Ned and Wardy to just, stick together because it's easy. But yeah, I sort of pushed myself to make connections with other people, older players, try and integrate myself in as quick as I could.
And who have you bonded with?
In my age group, I'm really good mates with Jai Sarong now. We sort of knew each other a little bit through, mutual friends and stuff back at school. And then, I've tried to, become a bit of an understudy to, Cozzy and Mitch Lewis and stuff in the forward group, as well as the rucks like Reva, Meeky more recently, and Lynchy. Just trying to learn off them and, take all their skills from them.
Well, that's good. I mean, that's how you have to do it. But so your focus has been on the forward craft coming into this year, has it?
Well, it's been a little bit interesting because at Sandy I was just a ruck. Didn't really play that much forward till like right before the mid-season because I just think clubs wanted to see me forward, and like not even because they wanted me there, Sandy wanted me there. But yeah, so now I've just been working really hard on that forward craft because, my goal is to be more of a forward and then a ruck so I can impact in the forward line and then give, Reva or someone a bit of a rest and go and actually impact in the ruck as well. So, that's my goal.
Well, just on that, I wanted to ask, what parts of your game, Max, have you been feeling pretty positive about to date, and in terms of how you're tracking, of course, and what sorts of things are you focusing on to improve?
Yeah, so like my weapons, I would say that's, the terminology we use, like our weapons, I would say my running's definitely up there, and then like my follow-up work, and I think my marking as well has come a long way, especially at training. Like I've been starting to, me and Blanky always go to each other in the match sim, and I've been, starting to take a few on him, which you wouldn't like me saying, but yeah, so I've been really working on that. And then something that needs to improve, there's quite a few things, probably just strength, I would say, and size. I'm still working to put on weight so I can compete with the bigger bodies, the AFL level.
What does that look like? How big are these meals, or how often are you eating now?
I try and eat, as much as I can. When I got there, it was pretty intense. It was like 6 meals a day I was trying to get in. Like I'd have brekkie at home, then another brekkie there, lunch, a protein shake or a bit more food, and then I'd try and have dinner really early when I got home, and then like really late as well, right before I go to bed. And I'm still trying to do that. It's a little bit like, believe it or not, it's hard to eat a lot of food. It gets, I just can't get any more in sometimes. So, I try and eat as much as I can. I like have a protein shake before bed, like stuff like that. Try and just eat as much as I can at lunch, at dinner.
How quick do you notice the changes?
Well, it's been pretty quick. I put on 10 kilos so far.
Wow.
Last June. So I'm trying to, by this June coming up, I want to, get to, I don't know how much I can put on, but another kilo or two, hopefully, and just try and get a nice number for a year's worth of progress.
You'd notice that in your movement and your strength in the contest, and that you'd be feeling it.
Yeah. Strength in the contest is probably the main one. Like this year in some of the games, I've just felt a lot more, stable and secure, and just, especially in the ruck as well, like I can actually use my strength more. Like at the start, I had to rely a lot on trying to lose my opponent, like dance around them a bit and like hit them when they weren't watching. And I still need to do that a lot, but like I can sort of hold myself a bit better. So yeah, and the other guys have quite a 10 kilos on me, each of them, each of the other rucks at the Hawks. So
well, you belted out a 2K time trial in 6 minutes. So if you can keep that up with gaining 10 kilos, that'll be incredible.
Yeah, that's the main goal. I think I have kept it up. We had a few time trials in preseason, which I was happy with, even though I was 10 kilos heavier than I was the year before. So yeah, I think that's the main balancing act, just still being able to run and as well as put the size on.
They've got you on the Mitch Lewis menu. Have you spoken to him about this?
Yeah, I actually have a lot. So I talked to him about having creatine and what sort of meal plans he did over preseason and stuff, and it's good to have someone there who's been through a similar sort of situation to me.
Now, I imagine it's par for the course with contract talks that both parties sort of discuss how you've been tracking and where you all think you're headed, and we've seen you have a lot to offer as a ruckman and the same as a forward target too. What do Hawthorn have in mind for you long term? And, obviously we're not expecting a full peek behind the curtain here in terms of the contract talks, but what does the future look like between the club and in your assessment?
In my assessment, I'm a long-term piece of the puzzle for the Hawks, and someone who's going to be there for a long time. Hopefully they think that as well. But yeah, I'm going to try and be like a forward that can impact really well, and then just help out in the ruck as well. I think that's their overall, vision for me.
Now this week, of course, you'll be playing on the MCG. Have you been out there before?
Besides Auskick, no, I haven't actually. I'm pretty excited.
It's a big stage. That's going to be a massive day come Monday.
Yeah, well, I'll be playing in the VFL, so there won't be that much of a crowd, but by the last quarter, hopefully people start trickling in.
Oh, you'll probably hear me from the stands. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, nice. I'll look for you.
The umpires report good things. Hearing him from the stands. So. As we're chatting, Max, I mean, it's surreal, really, because it doesn't feel like you're in year one of your AFL career. From the outside looking in, I don't know how it feels for you, but a debut awaits sometime soon, hopefully. But to date, what about this experience as an AFL footballer has been, well, first, what you expected, but also, has there been anything that surprised you?
I don't know. I think maybe when I first got there, I was a little bit taken aback by how much work everyone puts in. I knew that there'd be a lot of work to do, but just the extent of it, probably at the start, I had to think about it a bit. But other than that, it's been pretty what I expected. It's a great environment to, work in. And it's funny you said that about, being in my first year, because I think people glaze over it. I'm still doing I just did my first preseason with all the new draftees, but I'm also in my second year, so it's kind of weird. But yeah, it's been awesome.
Well, speaking of all the draftees and the new faces, I think something that's become evident, especially in Sam Mitchell's tenure, but especially over the last few months, one thing that comes across is the closeness of this group. Has that really been a priority for you guys, building that culture?
Yeah, we work a lot on our, connectiveness and our friendship. So we do we have a wings program, it's called, which is for I think it's third years and under. So we, do activities together and try and build our connection so that, as we move through the years, we just become a really, really strong unit. And obviously the older boys are all close as well. So yeah, it is really important.
With the mid-season draft, did the club approach you and let you know that they were looking at you, or how did that happen? Because it's a big reaction from you on the night, elation.
Yeah, that was a very nerve-wracking night. But yeah, I had a few interviews with different clubs, including Hawthorn. I was pretty pumped when they gave me a call. And so we did an interview. I forgot where the first one was, but then we did one at the club, and then the day before the draft, we did another one at the club. And I actually didn't really, I thought it was a chance, but there are teams ahead who I thought might pick me as well. So I was really, hoping that I'd get to the Hawks and that they'd pick me. But yeah, it was pretty crazy when they actually did. It was a dream come true, really.
What's your first premiership you remember for the Hawthorn Footy Club?
2008. I remember probably the most. I remember watching it at a friend's house or something. I was pretty young. I think I was 5.
Yeah, so. I was thinking you were 5. Yeah.
But I just have a few mental pictures of it. Just I just remember being happy, but not really understanding why. I knew that I went for the Hawks, but I wasn't really sure why I was happy. But yeah, I just remember that. What
inspired you to carry on with AFL? Because it's a real commitment once you get to a certain age, and you've got other intellectual pursuits as well. You're doing engineering as well. Is that right? Yeah, I'm doing commerce and engineering. But yeah, so when my journey was a bit different. So when I was in year 9, I think I was doing way too much sport, athletics, basketball, footy, all this stuff. And I was just I had a bunch of growing pains and stuff, and I just couldn't handle it. So I gave footy a rest for a couple of years and played basketball, which I was enjoying a lot of the time. And then just through COVID and,
all of that, I just really wanted to get back to footy and playing with my friends, which is because the majority of them played footy at school. So me and Wardy and Ned really just, I went and did, a bit of a pre-season with them through COVID just before year 12. So that was, 2020, I think. And then, got into the ones at school, and then we only played like 3 games or something because of COVID, which was a bit annoying. But then, after that, once I got invited to Sandy, I just thought, give this a crack, like see how it goes. Like I love playing footy, so it'd be awesome to actually do it as a job. And then, luckily it worked out.
It's a very interesting thing that you mentioned, because a few years ago, Clarko was talking to the AFL about the process of bringing talent into the league and things like that. And he referenced a few ideas about generalists in sport and how it was better for young kids to be playing different sports and working on the hand-eye coordination in different sports and just reaching, different elite levels, not having to play AFL the whole time. And it's also touched on by, I think his name's David Epstein. He writes a book on range. And it was something that at the time we thought he was talking about Mitch Lewis, who's got some ridiculous handicap in golf and a couple of other things. We had very late draft picks, and they were picking guys that were good across a whole range of sports. And it just meant that they could adapt quicker, their mind and their body to what the coaching panel needed out of them. So it's a fascinating way. So you've come to it from a love of teammates and camaraderie.
Yeah, well, obviously I played when I was a junior and everything, but I just came back to it because I missed it, and I wanted to play it again with my friends, and it was fun. But I think it's definitely a lot of merit to that generalist thing, because like for me at least, I feel basketball's helped a lot with sort of like awareness of like space and stuff, because you get like way less space and time in basketball, and I just feel, I don't know if it's from that, but I feel like it has helped a bit.
Certainly got the tap work down. I couldn't help but indulge in your highlights before coming on, and I was like, yep, liking the look of this very much. It'd be remiss of me to not attempt a bit of a callback here. Now, Tiz, you and I were at the AGM, and we had, I think, Josh Ward, an interview the very next night after the AGM or something like that. And we thought we'd ask Sam, what might be a good thing to ask Josh? And Sam replied, ask who's smartest at the club. Max, how do you and Josh stack up? Because you obviously went to school together. Who's ahead of who in terms of the enter?
Yeah, well, we pushed each other quite a lot at school, but technically I got a better ATAR than him.
There it is.
Technically I'm smarter.
Well, he did nod to that before Christmas, didn't he?
Yeah, he'd have to admit to that, but he'd put up a fight as well.
Well, it sounds like you're both very competitive across the board.
Yeah, we were and everything.
Well, speaking of your teammates, I'm curious. You've spent some time up forward. You're learning the forward craft. Who would you imagine is the best to deliver the footy to you? Lace out, inside 50, right on the chest.
Well, after I've just given Wardy a bit of a bath, I'll say probably him. He's a very good kick inside 50. Just repair the relationship there.
I think we're going to have a lot of fun watching these boys over the years, Nick.
Well, I was going to say, we've got some good kicks. I mean, Cam McKenzie, who's also a former teammate of yours, Max, he's come on board and he's a beauty. We already know that. So I look forward to seeing that dynamic between you guys.
Yeah, I was pumping him up a lot to Mark and the recruiting team around the draft time because, I love playing with him at Sandy, and it's awesome playing with the Hawks as well.
Well, I think it's very surreal to think that, 2008, you're 5 years old, you're watching the grand final, and I reckon sooner rather than later, you'll be wearing the Hawks colours, you'll be taking on the hoops, you'll be kicking the sealer. I don't know, it's just all fantasy booking, isn't it?
Yeah, it's pretty awesome to think about. But I try not to, think about those bigger picture things and just try and just go, day by day. Because it's pretty easy to get overawed by that sort of, thinking in that situation. So just treat each day like, just another day to get better. And then hopefully that will come eventually.
It's the old adage of one game at a time, isn't it, Max?
Yeah, it's a cliche, but it is True.
All right. Well, we thank you so much for your time and best of luck. It sounds like you're going to be running out for Box Hill in the VFL, taking on Geelong's side on Easter Monday, getting down there for the curtain raiser. We'll see you there, Max. Thanks so much for your time.
Thanks so much for having me on.
Yes, he's a delightful young man, is Max Ramsden. So excited to see what he can do this year. Hopefully we'll see a debut at some point soon. A big thanks to Max for his time, and thanks of course to the club. These opportunities do mean a lot, and we're delighted to bring you, the listeners, this kind of content more and more these days. Alright, on to the social media stuff before I wrap things up. You could be listening to us via Apple or via Spotify. However you're tuning in, have you considered leaving a rating or review of the show? It really helps us out. It basically puts our show up in lights for other Hawthorn fans, so I'd really appreciate it if you took the time to do that. Of course, you can find us all over the internet, really. We have a community of diehard Hawks fans on Twitter, Facebook and Instagram. We'd love to have you on board. And of course, as always, we'd like to extend a massive thanks to our many proud, passionate and paid up Patreon subscribers who show the podcast some love and help us put time into it week in, week out. A big Hawk Talk podcast shout out to our latest subscriber, Jason. Cheers, mate. Really appreciate the support. For anyone who's unsure what I'm on about, please head to patreon.com/HawkTalkPod. If you like the show, you want to support it, this is the best way to do it. And you can score some bonus content in the process, including our 2023 season guide. Patreon.com/HawkTalkPod. Now, by the way, if anyone wants to purchase a hard copy of that guide, we've still got some handy, and I know a few of you missed out round one and you're keen to get your hands on a copy. Well, if you're going to the game on Easter Monday and you are keen to buy one, do slide on into those DMs. Give us a heads up. We'll make sure we have a copy on hand for you. Anyway, that's all for this mini episode. We're going to be back for our recap of the Easter Monday clash with Geelong right before we head off to Adelaide for Gather Round. And we're so excited for that. With any luck, we'll be on the road riding high after a magnificent win over the Cats. Fingers crossed. This has been the Hawk Talk podcast. Thanks so much for tuning in. We are a happy team at Hawthorn.